Sponsorship for the Cradle Catholic is provided by El Padrecito Productions, Catholic evangelization with an urban flair. For more information, visit www.elpadrecito.org. If you're looking for quality music production for your film, your music, your podcast, or whatever the case is, contact my boy Separate Mind at PeteRoseBeats@gmail.com.
Time to take you sinners to church now.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, from Music in Focus Studio, where we discuss music, faith, community, and tacos. This is the Cradle Catholic Podcast with your host, C2six. Stay tuned, we can learn something. When we barbecue, the only time we burn something. My people with me and we never on our own. When we have a guest on, yeah, it's like we at home. We talk with bros and with sisters and we all tight. If it's about tacos, then we talking all night. And if I'm honest, I'ma order me some fries. Let's talk about hip hop, talk about life, yeah.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy C2six, and you are tuned in to the Cradle Catholic. Thank you for being here. It's a beautiful, wonderful day. God's blessed us with another day of life, so let's give thanks and praise and honor where it's due. My guest today is probably my most requested guest, right? All of my conversations end up somehow or another coming back to this dude, which kind of aggravates me a little bit. Because, he's cool and everything, man, but come on, man. It's not very often that you get to meet a person who coined a phrase, right? Like, I would love to meet the dude who said, "See you later, alligator," or "After a while, crocodile." You know what I mean? Right? It's like, you don't meet people like that, and if you did, you'd probably be starstruck. So that's why I'm starstruck sitting across from my guest today, because he coined the phrase, "Life without Christ is like beans without rice." And I'm sitting here with none other than my hometown hero, Nate G. What's cracking, Nate?
What's going on, man? I appreciate the opportunity to see your face again.
Hey, man, you're the first person who's ever said that to me.
I doubt that.
Not even my wife says that to me, too. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Everywhere I go, your name has popped up on the podcast a number of times.
That's crazy.
And so people are asking, where's Nate G? What's he doing?
Well, we've just been really, really busy there in Chanclaville, Texas, I know it's been a minute since I've probably put out any music, but, I made a decision a couple of years ago to pursue some things that were just an interest to me professionally. I decided to go back to school and complete my degrees, and right now my main priority, man, is just really being the best dad and the best husband I can be, and for me, I've found so much fulfillment in that. So, but I appreciate every time you hit me up and tell me a story about someone you've come across that say, hey, they like the music, or asking about me or whatnot. It always shocks me, man. It really does, because
shocks me too. That they like your music. I'm like, whoa.
You never know, like, if your music ever does have an impact or anything like that. Aside from putting it out and getting that initial, buzz, I guess, if you can call it. It's kind of hard. It's kind of weird to say that in the Christian realm. You know what I mean, about buzz and things. But there are some obviously some music industry terms that I guess that we have to throw
some
out.
Jargon.
Yeah. But no, it's always a blessing to hear that.
Yeah, like fan. I always feel weird calling people my fans. It's like, well, they're not my fans. They're like, you know what I mean? They're my supporters or whatever. Yeah. I feel you, man. I feel you. I'm a fan of Nate G. I think he's a better rapper than me for sure. And we happen to be part of the same little crew called Los Cristeros. I mean, there's two of us. So I guess that in a sense makes him my better half. Right? I know that sounds weird, man, but man.
I don't know how my wife would feel about that. She probably won't listen to this.
Well, I was torn whether or not to call you my better half, so I said maybe I should just call him my significant brother, because you're my brother in Christ. Right?
That's true. Semantics.
Hey, man, speaking of your wife, man, how long you been married now?
Ooh, this year we're going on our 16th year. 16 year. God's been good. Yeah, God's been good.
What's the secret?
Compromise, patience, and really the Lord, really. I would say He's sustained us through so much. I mean, so much. And really just surrounding ourselves with like-minded people that have prayed for us throughout the years. You know, there's a saying I used to say that we minister to many, but we fellowship with few, right? And it's you can't have everybody, you know, in that inner circle. You know what I mean? But inner circle is something that is vital, I think, to sustain any type of relationship long term. And obviously, when I made my vows and my commitment, I take it seriously. So, but over the years, man, I've had our fair share of struggles and trials and stuff.
You had your ups and downs, right? Just like anybody else.
Absolutely, but God has sustained us through it all, and He's used people in our lives to just encourage us when we need it, and strengthen us and challenge us at times when we needed that as well. So.
And you've got 2 daughters together, right?
Got 2 daughters, Trinity and Serenity, 10 and 6.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, the greatest experience I think that I have had in my life is becoming a father, but becoming a father to daughters.
Yeah.
I always wanted a boy, you know, growing up, and you know, I didn't have a dad growing up. Well, you know, he left when we were young, so for me, becoming a father was huge. So I remember in elementary, 5th grade, the teacher asked us, what do you want to be when you want to grow up, right? So the whole class, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a police officer, a doctor. Yeah. And my response was, I want to be a good dad, right? Because that's not something that I ever had. But early on, I knew that once I decided to have kids, that I wanted to be the best I could be at that. And so that's why that's been just my focus since I've had them. But, you know, God has allowed a way to me to spend more time with them, and I'm thankful for that.
I have this scenario that I play out in my head that I'm like your daughter's favorite uncle. You know, you're like, here, the guy, I come over and give him $5 out of my pocket, you know, like they're like, Uncle Carlos, and they like, you know, and it's then reality hits me, and I'm like, I'm just probably like their least favorite rapper. You know, I was like, you know,
who's man. That, Daddy? No, never mind that.
He's just a bad man.
He owes me some money.
He's just a bad man. Lock the doors. Roll up your windows. Yeah, man. So, for people who don't know, right, Nate he actually does not live in Chanclaville, Texas. Chanclaville is
it's a state of mind. It's in your heart. It's imprinted on your behind growing up.
Yes. Well, I can't say it's imprinted on my behind, but you know. But he lives in a, I guess what you call a suburb, right? Yeah. Of Fort Worth to the west. So it's kind of about a little bit in the country, right?
Yeah, my wife and I we met in a small town called Weatherford, Texas.
Well, see, that's what I was leading to that. So you're originally from San Jose, California.
Yes. Well, I grew up in San Jose. I was born in Lubbock, so I am a Texan. You know, I got my twang and everything like that. But I grew up in the Bay Area in San Jose, and then
your wife's originally from Dallas, right?
She's Oak Cliff. Yeah, she's Dallas. Yeah.
So how did you wind up meeting her in a small country town just to the west of Fort Worth?
We met on Facebook. No, I'm just kidding. Crazy story. So, you know, in high school, we moved back to Texas, and my mom transferred jobs, and we found a little town outside of the Metroplex there in Weatherford, and we camped out there. I actually met her. It's funny, I tell people the story. I actually started dating her brother first. It seemed that way because I remember we went out to lunch. I think my senior year in high school. Went out to lunch, and I look at my back seat, and there's like this chubby brown kid in my back seat, and I'm like, "Who the heck is this kid?" And so he was a new kid in class.
He's not talking about me, guys.
No. Yeah, so I'm like, "Who the heck is this kid, man?" Anyway, so we went out to lunch and chopped it up with him. Name was Geronimo. He's now my brother-in-law. His parents and his they picked him up after school, and that's when I saw his sister. And I said, "Oh, we're gonna become real good friends." So she was my high school sweetheart. You know, we got married shortly after high school. You know, we lived in Fort Worth for a long time, but our goal has always been to end up back kind of in the county where we met, and so we were able to accomplish that goal 2 years ago. So we moved out of the city, kind of a little more elbow room, and you know, across the neighborhood is a pasture, and a bunch of cows, and I love it. But like when I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna go meet up with Carlos, that the answer is always the response is why. I'm just kidding.
That's hilarious, dude. That's hilarious, man. There's like a little inside joke I have with Nate, and I always say, hey, man, I don't know what your wife has that I don't have.
Yeah. Hey, man, I can't make it. I can't make it to that thing or what y'all got. I was like, yeah, my wife's, we got plans, we got that. And that's always your response is, what she got that I don't? I'm like, well, a couple things.
Can you answer it here on the podcast and make it official, bro? What does she have that I don't have?
Oh, man, we probably shouldn't get into that.
Yeah. Let's save that for another episode. Let's save that for the Los Cristeros album part 2. We'll make a song about it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Let's talk about some music. I want to talk a little bit about how I met you, because when I met you, I had just started doing Christian hip hop. It was probably still the MySpace days.
Yeah.
And you had a space open on your top 8, and I wanted that coveted spot. I wanted that coveted spot on Nate G's top 8, man. And I remember I was reaching out to you, bro, and I was like, man, because like when I heard your music, and I don't even know how I came across it. Maybe somebody told me about you, or I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but I came across your music. I heard it, and I was like, this dude is dope. Like, I never heard a Christian rapper that was like, oh, wow. That's nice. You know what I'm saying? That's good stuff. The truth of the matter is, the majority of Christian hip hop that I had heard prior to that was a little bit
little cheesy,
little gimmicky, kind of, not so great. And then I heard Nate's stuff, and I was like, not only was it dope, but it was like very similar to my style of music. It was distinctly kind of Latin, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Southern.
Yeah.
It was not real generic. You had some wordplay in there. You had a lot of substance in your bars, and I was just like, man, this dude is dope. And I reached out to you, and it took you a while to respond, man. So I thought you weren't gonna respond for a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, am I gonna miss out being on this top 8 or what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it comes to mind every now and then when we do talk about it.
Yeah.
I do remember getting messages from you, like just trying to chop it up, just trying to connect.
Yeah.
At that time, I was careful kind of who I wanted to hang out with, or who to allow in and stuff like that. And then MySpace was so new to me.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to open it up to everything and everybody. So I don't know how it is we end up coming across each other, but I do remember you hitting me up, and I probably ghosted you, I think.
You and my wife have that in common. You both dissed me when you first met me. You know what I mean? Like, the first time we actually met in person was at a concert that we were doing the same event for Jesse Vasquez, I believe.
Maybe. We did a lot of car shows back in the day.
Yeah.
Things like that.
And I remember thinking, like, man, dude's from Fort Worth too. He's bald-headed. For those of you who may not have seen me and Nate G, we kind of look like twins in a sense, except he's Arnold Schwarzenegger and I'm Danny DeVito, right? Like that type of twins,
right?
Like he's the big, tall, he's the tall, dark, and handsome cholo, and I'm the Danny DeVito cholo.
I appreciate you saying that. I didn't want to say it, man.
But hey, man. So at that time, you're working with dudes like Lingo and Hita and Dez, and
I started doing Christian hip hop like in my senior year of high school. Like junior year, I was just freestyling, kind of kicking it with the homies, writing things, bunch of vulgar stuff. But in my junior year was a real pivotal moment in my life where I come to know the Lord.
Yeah.
And I said, I believe God's given me a gift. I was good at 2 classes in high school, and that was recess and in English. I was really good. I get good grades in my creative writing.
I don't believe that. But okay.
Yeah, no, it's true, man. It's so God had given me a gift, so I wanted to use it for Him. And anyway, so I started putting out some, little music there in high school and things like that. But starting dating the wife, and wasn't the wife at the time, but and one of the things that attracted me really to her and the family really was that they were a Christian family.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's kind of what was missing in my life, because we didn't really grow up in church.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was I was like, okay, great, I I can learn, I can, so anywho, I ended up traveling to Dallas with them here and there, spending the weekend with the family, and really it was, I was the brother's friend, at the time, and went to church with them, and I had never really been exposed to, like Pentecostal or Assemblies of God type environment. The only church experiences I had growing up were more like non-denominational, more contemporary settings and things like this. And this was a Spanish church. So, I'm not I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, right? So, I didn't start speaking Spanish till after I got married so I could find out what my in-laws were saying about me.
Was this a real charismatic church?
Yeah, it really was. So for me, it was, I had seen some things about that, but it wasn't familiar to me, right? Anywho, at one of these youth events I'd gone to, I run across, they had some Christian rappers there, and I'm like, that's awesome, because this is kind of what I was doing, but in the small little town of Weatherford. And Lingo was there. It was Lingo, I believe Hita was there, probably Dez, and I think Field Dog was there too.
Right?
Yeah. They were. He was a young buck at the time too. He was kind of the young one there in the group. I may have heard that they were going to be there before. I can't remember, but I remember I had a CD with me, right? Yeah. And so I had given them a CD, and then time passed. And, we get out of high school, I graduate, I'm in my first year of college or whatever, but I ended up getting a call from them. This was back when in Atlanta, every year they did the Holy Hip Hop Awards, right?
Yeah.
And this is back when you buy CDs still in stores, and, and they were all going to go, and they invited me to go with them. And I was like, man, I've only met them like maybe once or twice prior to that. Yeah. But I tagged along. And really what I found out was they just needed another person to pitch in so they could make the trip. So they're like, how'd you pay your dues? It's like, man, I don't know. I cut the guy a check, Let me pay you to ride with you. That's kind of how it went. So, but that's the first time I met Dez, really, and then Hita. Man, we just hit it off from the get-go. And so I spent I think it was maybe a week, or I know it was several days, because it took, a long time to get there. We were there for a couple days, really getting to know these guys, and they kind of really accepted me in their group and kind of took me under their wing, and it was Groove Sound Records back then. So they let me come around and hang out, and I got to record on some of the projects they had. That was kind of my introduction into really Christian hip hop. You know what I mean? And man, it was awesome. I had a great time.
I don't know if those guys even realize how much of an influence they had on me. Wow, for real. Because at the time, like I said, I didn't know of any other Christian rappers, especially not locally. Mm-hmm. I had heard of Lecrae and a couple of other major artists.
That was later down the road too.
Yeah, well, when I started hearing about them and about you was 2010. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is dope. I like these dudes. Yeah. And I remember they used to sell all the records, at Mardell's Christian bookstore and stuff like that. Yes. And I would go buy the CDs at that bookstore, and it was cool because at Mardell's you could open the CDs and listen to them. Yeah. Then you started kind of venturing out, doing your own solo stuff.
Yeah, I got a little older, got a little bit more experience, and started.
What was kind of the reasoning behind that? What was it? Because I know you kept it cool with everybody.
Oh yeah. I think internally their deal kind of wound down. I think they began to pursue kind of more things on the ministry front. Yeah. And I wanted to keep pursuing it, and I started kind of venturing out, and some of us went kind of on our own, and then I started kind of having the confidence to put out my own stuff. Yeah. I think around that time when I started doing that, that's when you and I think, crossed paths.
Contrary to popular belief, it was through MySpace and not Christian Mingle.
Right. Yes. Initially through MySpace, and then we ended up meeting in person. And then I remember I was working on a couple EPs for the longest time, but I had a solo project that I had been working on called Rep the Set. It was my debut album, and there was a song there that I had recorded, but I was looking to feature somebody, and I remember I was talking with TJ Thomas Nunez. Back then, he went by TJ up. Yeah. And I was like, man, who should we get on this? And I had already had a song with, I already featured Heat and my boys. I had something with Dez, and I was trying to figure out, who to throw in. And I wanted it to be somebody local, obviously for logistic purposes, but somebody who had a sound that I enjoyed, because the song I Ain't Lying is what it was. And I thought someone who would bring a different dynamic, and we talked about you. And hit you up, you jumped on it. I guess the rest is history. Yeah, I like that.
That was a hit. That was a popular song, man. A lot of people liked it. I think it was mostly because of me. Mostly.
It got
at least 98% because of me.
Yeah. I ain't lying. That was it. Got after a while. I hear it now. I'm like, man, that song's real redundant.
But you know what, man? It was cool because what I really appreciated about it, man, is we got a nice little video shoot out of it, and I got to meet DJ Val through the video shoot.
Yeah. And
DJ Val, man, I've always kind of admired his work from a distance, because we never really had a chance to really work together.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I enjoyed meeting him, man. And so now we're at the point where we're kind of starting to work together a little bit, right?
Right.
I got to ask you, and I want you to get your honest answer, right? How did you feel about the fact that it was I'm doing Christian rap, but I'm doing it from a very distinctly Catholic perspective?
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, growing up, my family, I think they grew up Catholic. You know what I mean? I didn't. My mom, I believe, initially when she was a child, went to Catholic churches and things like that, but it wasn't something that was prominent. But I always had a lot of reverence for the Catholic Church, but really any church in general, because I've growing up, without a dad, and there's a lot of feelings about inadequacy. You know what I mean? Trying to find yourself as a man, so you look for standards in your life. And I always looked at the church as a standard that I could hold myself accountable to. One of my earliest memories I had was going to what I thought was a Catholic church. The beautiful architectural, the building itself, inside the building, I remember there was a maze on the floor. And people would go, this was in San Francisco, they would go during their lunchtime, and you would just see business people just walking this maze, and then we get to the center of it, and they would just kneel and then have a moment of silence. And for me, I always go back to that in my mind. You know what I mean? Just they seem so at peace. So that has always stuck with me. I think it was either a Presbyterian or Episcopal church, I come to find out. But at that time, I didn't know. So that when I think about church, I think about that time, that point of reverence. So anybody that's got a reverence for God and the things of God, I respect. And so when it came to you doing music from that Catholic perspective, I had nothing but respect for it.
That's what's up. We were traveling for the Cristeros album, and we were doing a lot of Protestant events and a lot of Catholic events, right?
Yes.
Probably a little more Catholic than Protestant. How was that for you? What was it like? Because that was really kind of your first kind of extended experience with Catholics and with Catholicism, right?
Sure, so it was eye-opening. It was eye-opening, and I had the best of time. Now, we were talking about this earlier, where, you and I, we've traveled, the nation, really, done a lot of stuff here locally. We've had times where you and I have experienced some confrontation with the other side, and the embrace that I received in the Catholic churches was just amazing, and it was welcoming, and it was comforting. And I compare that, I contrast that to the acceptance and the embrace or the lack thereof that you received in some of the Protestant churches, that we visited some of those events just over the time that we've known each other. Kind of speaks to speaks volumes, really. And so, but that's not to say, and you touched on this earlier, that both camps still have people that
there's no shortage of uncharitable Christians on either side of the fence. Right. Unfortunately, they're a loud minority.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that they have in common, whether it's Protestant or Catholic, and is their lack of maturity. And the ones that have embraced us and been welcoming and been charitable on both sides are usually mature believers. When that comes across, or when I encounter that, I like to, how long have you, been doing, and it's a lot of times it's Christian rappers or somebody that's involved in something like that.
Yeah.
How long have you been? Oh, I just got saved like a year ago, or I just got saved
so
last
you're
week.
a Christian? Let me be the judge of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, God's the judge of everything, right? And,
Absolutely.
and I'm glad I'm not the judge, because I'd be a horrible judge, bro.
I think you'd be a horrible judge too.
I'd be like, yeah, Nate, you've done a lot of bad things in your life, but you bought me some tacos that were pretty bomb, so I'm going to go ahead and save you. You know what I mean? The first 2.5 years after my conversion, after my, come to Jesus moment, I consider myself to be a fallen away Catholic. I consider myself to be a former Catholic. I consider myself to be a non-denominational Christian, Protestant. And I don't have anything negative to say about my experience, right? I developed my love for Scripture there. I developed my zeal there. I developed my prayer life there. I developed, just a desire to truly serve God and His people.
Yeah.
And so it was like, how can I say something bad about that? There's no way I could say it. So for anybody who's ever had this idea in their head that I am somehow like anti-Protestant or something like that, it's like that's not the case at all.
If that was the case, I don't think you and I would have gotten this far. I mean, we're having this conversation now, but how many conversations have you and I had over however long it's been years now?
Yeah.
But if that wasn't the case, and you didn't have any fruit to show in that area, it would be evident. You know what I mean? So,
and it's been some years too.
Yeah.
Like I said, we met like in 2010, so 2020 made our 10-year rap-iversary.
There you go.
Hey, it's my punchline, bro. I got bars, bro. Bars. Hey, man. So, I want to ask about the future of Los Cristeros, man. They're always asking, when is part 2 coming out? When is part 2 coming out? And I'm like, well, if y'all can help me put some pressure on Nate, then maybe we can get this popping, right?
Yeah.
So, what's your vision? I mean, do you see us doing a part 2? And
Absolutely.
And what's your vision for it?
Absolutely. For me, legacy is important, so I would like to leave it a recording for my children's children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's why I would love to do it. I believe we'll be able to get that done. At least break ground on it before the year's up.
Yeah.
That would be great. I know your timetable. You want it done ASAP, right? The thing about Carlos, I don't think people get is when we were putting the Los Cristeros album together, it was only gonna be like 4 or 5 songs, and then he's kind of like when he orders taco. Let me just get one more.
Yeah.
Just one more, bro. Just one more, and then next thing I know, we have like 10. So, but I'm excited about doing it because the amount of fun I had previously. Now I've got a whole nother project that I've had written for some time. I think it's still relevant today, and I would love to put that out. But it really it's from a girl, from my girls they can hear because they like hearing Daddy.
Yeah,
what I mean. Absolutely, I would love
cherish that while you still have it, man.
Yeah, that's why
the last person my daughter wants to talk to is me. You know what I'm saying? Like
I think about my father-in-law, right?
Yeah.
And if anyone's gotten that Welcome to Chanclaville album, there's a song on there, Un Día a la Vez.
Yeah.
And it's funny because everyone who compliments me on that album doesn't compliment my songs; they compliment his song, right? But the whole family, it was just even to this day, they love the fact that they have him recorded singing the song because he does that every day of his life.
Yeah.
And I know it's not going to be anytime soon, but at least down the road we know.
But he does more alabanzas type stuff, right? More praise and worship.
Absolutely.
But in Spanish.
Corridos, and that's what they grew up listening to. So they love listening to that song because it reminds me of their dad. In fact, a lot of times people tell me they like that song because it reminds them of their grandparents or their parents.
Yeah.
And so to see my my in-laws or even my children, I love to hear their huito come on hear a song from them.
Yeah.
That's it was eye-opening for me, and that's why when I put out some more music, that's the perspective I have. Is I'm speaking. I mean, it's not so much that that I don't care about others or the world or anything like that, but I'm speaking to my future family tree. That's how I look at it.
Now, speaking of that, man, of dads and things like that, that's a good transition to a topic I wanted to talk about. It can be an emotional thing to talk about, right? But you and I have in common that we've both lost our dads, right?
Yes.
I'd like for you to kind of touch on that, man, because we're not the only people that have lost our parents, you know. How did that affect you, and what was your relationship like with your dad, you know, as a child and at the time of his passing?
Well, that's a good question. So, you know, I mentioned earlier about not growing up with my father, and I think we were about maybe 5 or 6 when he left, and I remember vividly the last day I saw him as a child. I asked him when he's coming back, and he didn't give me an answer. You know, and so growing up, you know, you deal with it the best you can, right? But I remember even having come to know the Lord and gotten involved in ministry and teaching people and preaching about grace and forgiveness and things like that.
Mercy.
And I got, mercy. And I got word that my dad wasn't doing too well. And we had basically no contact since maybe at the latest, maybe 8, I think.
Yeah. So his health was not too
yes,
great.
His health wasn't doing too well. And all these emotions started coming up that I realized I had suppressed. Because if you asked me years ago how you felt, I was indifferent. Like, I didn't have any ill will or any bad intentions towards the man or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just didn't really care. Really, I was indifferent. It wasn't in a disrespectful way, but it was just I didn't occupy much of my mental space with that. But all these feelings started coming back up, and I said, you know what, I need to deal with this. You know, I really need to live what I've been preaching, and I realized that was an area in my life that I hadn't given over to the Lord, really.
Yeah.
And so I got word that he wasn't doing too well. And so come to find out, my older brother, which I always knew I had an older brother and older sister, but my older brother had reached out trying to get a hold of us. And so I talked to him, and we talked on the phone. That was great. And I made plans to go see my dad.
Yeah.
He didn't grow up with our father either, and he's the oldest. He had obviously knew where he was, and they would go and check on him from time to time. And so I made plans to go visit my dad. He wasn't expecting us or anything like that, so I just packed up my girls, the wife, and we headed out to West Texas. And I remember we drove to a little town called Barstow. It's in the middle of West Texas.
Yeah.
And there he was on the front porch in a wheelchair.
Okay.
And I remember walking up to him. I can't tell you what he was thinking, but I can tell you what I was thinking. That's my father. And I went up to him. I said, hey, I'm your son, Nathaniel. And he goes, hey, Neil, and I said, listen, I'm not here to chew you out. Yeah. I'm not here to ask you why you left. You don't owe me any explanation. I'm here just to tell you that I love you. I've come to know the Lord, and my mom will probably disagree, but I tried my best to honor my mother. Yeah. But I've never had an opportunity to honor my father, so that's why I'm here. I want to tell you that I honor you. I want to honor you, and the weight that I saw lift off of his chest, but what I felt lift off of mine was amazing. And because of that, I met my older brother and older sister on the same weekend. Nice. And so what was crazy is that the next year I got to call my father on Father's Day and wish him Father's Day, Happy Father's Day.
That was a first for you.
Yeah, that was a first for me.
Nice.
And I had never done that, and always wanted to, and I had experienced that myself as a father. My girls come up to me, and tell me that all the time, but that was amazing. So I had him in my life for maybe a couple years. Yeah. And it wasn't too long ago. It's been, I think, 2-3 years now, but he passed away. Yeah. And that was tough to have gotten him back in my life only to lose him. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think on the positive side of that is you had a reconciled relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a chance to forgive.
Yeah.
You get a chance to be merciful. And, who knows what type of grace that sparked in his life and his heart and his mind, right?
Yeah.
So I like to kind of think about it like this. You're like, God purposely, reconciled you all's relationships so you could kind of point each other back towards him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would. I mean, I remember speaking at his eulogy and funeral, and I'm staring at this congregation, and I told him, the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life was to confront my dad like that.
Yeah.
Actually, I told him that was the second hardest thing I've ever had to do. The hardest thing I had to do is to be there today with him and bury him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one thing the Lord spoken to me, and I shared it with the congregation there, is that we should never allow strife to hinder the reward that is found in forgiveness.
Yeah.
Right. And everyone there, and I told them, everyone there, you are my reward. If I'd never done that, I wouldn't have my older brother in my life. I wouldn't have my older sister in my life. I wouldn't have been able to meet all my uncles, and we grew up with it was just my mom, my brother, and me. And to now have this extended large family was a reward, and that for me that I'll never forget.
My dad was always in my life. He was always there. But I think emotionally he was distant.
Right.
Especially for me, more so than my siblings. I'm not sure why, but that was kind of the case, right? And so I never really had a close relationship with my dad. And the last couple of years of his life, I felt like God was kind of reconciling that relationship, right?
Yeah.
But here's one of my regrets, and I've actually never shared this publicly, I don't think, that I can remember, and I'm going somewhere with it. The week before my dad passed away, was my son's birthday party, and my dad didn't come to the birthday party, and I was angry. I was upset about it for various reasons, right? I mean, there's more to the story, but basically I was upset, and I've always respected and honored my dad, but that week, for whatever reason, I was really hurt. And I wasn't talking to him that week. I was literally ignoring him that week because I was upset. And then I get the call that he's in the hospital with pneumonia, and then he had a heart attack, and then he had a stroke. So literally the last time I talked to my dad, I was mad at him, and so to this day, I still kick myself in the butt for doing that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the point I want to make with that, and I think you can attest to this, or you can come into agreement with me on this, right? Is if there's any bitterness in your heart, or any hard feelings, or any unforgiveness, any of those types of things, man, let it go. Mm-hmm. It's not worth it. No. It's just not worth it, man. You never know how much longer you have to be with that person that you love. We didn't expect my dad to die. Mm-hmm. He was in perfect health. Mm-hmm. On my son's birthday. 3 days later, he's in the hospital unconscious. You know what I mean? So yeah, you never know what will happen. And so yeah, so if I could say anything to the listeners, man, let it go. Don't hang on to that stuff. It's poison. Absolutely. Let it go and give it to God, and forgive those people, that person, and reconcile those relationships.
Absolutely.
Sorry to get a little bit, I told you it can be a little emotional. All right, everybody, we're taking a quick break to shout out to the sponsors: El Padrecito Productions, Separate Mind Productions, Reach Architect. Thank you for support, and thank you for making this program possible. Let's get back to the business. Let's talk about something a little bit more fun now, man. Give me two, really either funny or memorable experiences that you have from your time as a musician?
Probably one of my most memorable times was actually during the Cristero tour. Then we hit LA, and we had a great time there in LA. And Father Maceo was driving that orange van that he's got, and that man's got lead foot. And
yes, he does.
And he, we drove. I don't remember how many hours it was it Guadalupe?
Guadalupe, I believe, yeah, or Santa Maria.
Yeah, and he's going down these windy roads, and I had this bruised. We laugh about it. It was a bruised tailbone,
yes.
Right? That I got from I think a Spirit flight earlier.
He got it from sitting Indian style.
Yeah. So damn, it hurt my tailbone, and I wish I could shake my tail feather, but it was just too painful. But anyway,
by the way, guys, he had a donut that he was sitting on at this time because of his tailbone injury.
I don't remember that, but I'll take your word on it. But there's Father Maceo. He's just bending them corners like Daytona, and he knew where he was going. But anyway, so we get to it was the Friary where
the Friary where they were living,
and and it was pitch black, couldn't see anything, and we were so exhausted, and so we crash, we wake up, and I just remember walking out, and I could not believe what I was seeing. It was so beautiful there, so beautiful. And I remember we had a busy day that morning, so we started the day with I'd say chapel, right? Yeah. And we go with Father Maceo, and you guys were all we were there in the.
We did some prayer in front of the tabernacle. We did basically like some Eucharistic adoration,
right,
and prayer.
And I joined you in that, and I remember I was sitting there, but I had this feeling kind of come over me, this warmth come over me.
Yeah.
And I remember standing up, and I felt no pain, right?
Yeah.
No pain. And you can attest that I was in a lot of pain for a while. But we did that whole weekend. And God kind of spoke to me. He said, man, because I'd experienced. We talked about it earlier. The rift sometimes between Protestant and Catholic.
Yeah.
And things like that. But I felt the Lord speak to me I can heal you, no matter where you're at, bro.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
Don't put me in a box is basically what I come out of that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we do that. God is willing and able. He can do anything he wants to do, right? It was a healing moment. It was for me,
Yeah. And I remember you telling us too, you were almost left speechless in a sense. You were we're getting into that van, into the Padrecito mobile.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was testing it. I was checking it. I'm
I was wondering why you were shaking your hips around. I was like, what is he doing? And then you were just like, hey, bro, I don't have any pain at all. I think I just had a miraculous healing,
Yeah.
And I was like,
I don't want to come across as one of those fanatics or the snake charmers or what. So don't take this the wrong way, but I mean, man, it was that was a crazy experience. When I think about that, I think as far as fun stories go, the culinary experiences.
Oh yeah,
that I've had on the road. I've had some bad meals. I've had some amazing meals.
Yeah.
But
tell me more about these meals,
man, bro. San Antonio.
Oh yeah.
There was a Filipino population or congregation there, and they had the lumpia.
Yeah.
And lumpia is basically it's a Filipino egg roll.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I remember that night.
Amazing.
Yes.
I remember that night too because you're like, yeah. I said, hey Carlos, where are we gonna crash tonight? He goes, oh, they got a house here on the church property we can stay at. And he didn't mention that it wasn't furnished, right? They use it for meetings. So there was a table and chairs, and there was a couch. And I said, I drove here, Carlos. I'm like, I'm getting the couch. You sleep on the floor.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. What are some other culinary experiences, man?
Top three, Mofongo in Washington Heights.
Yeah.
The Mofongo de Camarón there in Washington Heights. I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but
El Malecon. Trust me, I remember.
Man, that thing that's the first time I had. That's the first time I'd been around more than one Puerto Rican. The other one was Chico, right? But there's a bunch of Puerto Ricans down there, man.
Yeah.
And I'd never had like Puerto Rican food, you know, that I would consider Puerto Rican food or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was man, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then Cat's Deli, pastrami.
Yeah.
2 sandwiches, 2 Cokes. It was about $60 cash.
Yeah.
That's about all the cash I had on me at the time, I think.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I think I remember I gave them my card, and they were like, "We don't take cards here."
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's the only cash. And I had like put that cash aside to like expense it, you know, here and there.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, well, there's a big old bouncer at the door. I'm not getting out of here. You know.
Yeah.
So, but Cat's Deli, pastrami sandwich,
Yeah.
and then. Wow, I would say later that night, Chinese food, Chinatown.
Right after we came from
in
New
a basement,
Jersey, right?
yeah, in a basement in Manhattan. It was about 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was all 3 in New York, man.
Yeah. I remember that night we were driving back from New Jersey. We were doing that concert with the Symbol and DJ Ideal Sounds, and I guess it was just us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in New Jersey, and then we were driving back to Manhattan, and I mean, it's like late at night, on a Saturday night or something like that, and it took us like 3 hours to drive,
long time,
like 14 miles or something, you know. It was
we finally get there. We walk down this alleyway. It's just like deserted. And I'm like, this is like a perfect alleyway where like a fight was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Bruce Lee fan, so I'm like, I'm in Chinatown. I was like, man, it can go down. You know, it's gonna go down. And then we walk down these stairs into this basement. Yeah. And you didn't have no problem getting through the door, but I had to duck. But
and this was like a doggy door too.
Yeah, it was like itty bitty, man. And then we're in this like basement, and it's I don't know, maybe a 20 by 20 room, you know, and there's probably how many people were in there? Maybe 30, 40, 50.
40, yeah, it was packed.
It was packed. And and I think we ordered a bunch of Chinese food. I think we paid like $20 or something like that.
Yeah, it was bomb.
They wrote our order in Chinese letters. That's all what I remember. Yeah. And I remember them bringing the total. I'm like, oh, that's all?
It's like, give me more to
Carl,
go.
You had like 3 dishes, you know. But that was amazing time.
I tell you, one of my memories from that particular weekend, right, was so me and Nate, we have like this weird sense of humor. We're always just joking around and kidding around and stuff. and Nate, we're in the hotel room, right, and I'm laying on my bed, just kind of like maybe on my phone or something, maybe texting my wife or something, right. And Nate comes out of the restroom wearing my jacket. It's way too small on him. And he's like, film me, dude. Film me. I was like, so I started filming with my phone. He starts doing this weird, like, octopus-looking dance in my jacket. And I just, just totally made up the song as he went along. Like, my jacket's too small. Like, you're like, just... And it was just hilarious, man. And I was like, wow, bro, we are such nerds. We are nerds.
I don't think people realize how big of a nerd that you really are.
I literally thought you were about to say how big of a nerd I am, like yourself. And then you said me, bro. That's messed up, man. That's crazy, man.
No, it's true. Oh, you know, real quick, I want to get it in. Homeboy Purpose, Benny.
Yeah,
Benny
Santimanes.
Hey. That was a great trip, man.
Yeah,
that was a great trip. And then them boys fed us good out there in Kansas.
Yeah.
It was a Wichita, Kansas, right?
Yeah.
We had a great time out there. Shout out to Benny.
Shout out to Benny. Joe Angel, man. Joe Angel. That's my dude over there, too, man. Yeah, all them dudes, man. What's the first song we're going to play today, man?
First song, let's go with Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex. Tell us a little bit about it, man, real quick.
Well, I wanted to do a chop and screw type deal, but you know, it's just really a lot of perspective of just being from Texas. You know what I mean? Being a Tejano specifically. So,
hey, Tex-Mex by Nate G.
check this. Love God, then I love Texas. Low rider, stay plate scraping. White walls on my chrome Dayton's. Tex Mex when I might check this. Love God, and I love Texas. Low rider, stay plate scraping. White walls on my chrome Dayton's.
Yes sir, yes ma'am, I'm from Texas. Way up is like you here for breakfast. I put on like a necklace. Tex Mex when I want to check this. Yeah, my mama got rooms down in Vegas. Where that chili go hard like a mug. Got nothing but love for my boys in the cup. Pray the Lord up above, keep you blessed to the mug. See I'm brown, that I'm proud, that I'm brown, that I'm brown. Gotta work overtime to get play in my time. The judge just by the color was getting out the context of the content that I spit. But I ain't even tripping though, we gon' keep it hitting though. For them vatos and them old school lolos. The OGs saying como que YOLO. We'll kill that like Scarface Manolo.
Tex Mex when I might check this. Love God, then I love Texas. Low rider, stay plate scraping. White walls on my chrome Dayton's. Tex Mex when I might check this. Love God, and I love Texas. Low rider, stay plate scraping. White walls on my chrome Dayton's.
Landry with a game plan, yeah. Bruce Lee if you get wrecked, yeah. If man with a mic stand, yeah.
Zorro with a snapback.
All around town with my guy. Gotta keep an eye out for La Huda. Truth is, got love for the 5-0. Probably first rapper ever to say so. Local bit another 9 on the uno. But tell me who you gon' know. Put they life on the line for some pesos. Stay safe out there before you go home. And to my boys in the streets, we got kids in the streets. D-boys said the best man sees for peace. DJ Primo, man, rest in peace. Know the prayer don't cease for your family, nah.
Tex Mex when I might check this. Love God, then I love Texas. Low rider, stay plate scraping. White walls on my chrome Dayton's. Tex Mex when I might check this. Love God, and I love Texas. Low rider, stay plate scraping. White walls on my chrome Dayton's.
That was my boy Nate G with Tex Mex. Let's give him a round of applause. You like that? That's my little round of applause.
Appreciate it.
I can't afford like real sound effects.
You do what you can, you know. Just do the best you can.
Hey, I'm just some rapid fire questions, right? We're gonna do about 5 rapid fire questions. I don't want you to think about your answers, man. I just want you to just tell me the first thing comes to your mind, okay?
Okay.
All right?
I'll do my best.
Do your best, man. I want you to tell me the first thing that pops to your mind when I say Christian rap.
Aaron, my boy Aaron. Hey,
from
it's
Amarillo.
From Amarillo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I would say he's out of all the people that I hear and then just have come across, he's probably been one of the most just genuine people, person, you know, his whole family. But his music is amazing. If I could sing like him, my wife would probably tell me to shut up a lot less.
Hey, all right. Question number 2. Whataburger or In-N-Out?
Whataburger.
Hey.
Whataburger, no doubt. Specifically Whataburgers in West Texas where they have a green chili burger. You can't get that out here anymore.
Since you are from California originally, well, kind of, sort of, raised in California and you're in Texas, which is better, California Mexican food or Texas Mexican food?
I'm going to go with Texas Mexican food.
Hey.
Rio Grande Valley.
Oh, yeah.
San Antonio.
Oh, yeah. Anything south of Laredo, you can't go wrong with. Mm-hmm. Man, so good, bro. Next question, Nate. 20 years of marriage is your next milestone. What are you going to do for your wife?
Oh, man. If I say it now, it's official. I'm going to have to do it. She's been wanting to go back to. I'm gonna take her on a trip. So she's been wanting to go back to Jenner, California. I may be able to squeeze that in before, but at the very latest, I'll probably do that. Yeah.
Nice. Next question for you, Nate. You got 2 daughters. Give some basic advice that you would give to any daughter.
If daddy don't respect them, it ain't worth your time.
Hey.
If he ain't got a Bible in his hand, it ain't worth your time. You know what I mean? And
a Catholic Bible or a Protestant Bible?
Well, I'm gonna go with Protestant Bible. You know, I got to go with the home team on that one. A couple extra books ain't gonna hurt.
Hey, I mean, 7 extra books is not that much more heavy, dude.
Right.
So you can't, you know.
I get it. You know. No.
My next question for you is, give me 2 or 3 accomplishments that you want to accomplish before you hang up the mic.
I'd like to do a Los Cristeros 3.
Hey.
You know, I'd like to put out one more project. I have a project that I've been working on, and a lot of it has to do with my dad and things like that. But I think it would do a lot of people good to hear some of what I've got to say on that, because I think a lot of men nowadays, or there's a lot of fatherless homes out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would like to. I'd like to put something out for that. Speaking specifically from that perspective, is I think I don't know if that's been done or whatnot, but yeah, I'd like to get those in before I call it quits. Just professionally, you know. I think about, you know, the truth back in the day, right? And it's still relevant today, obviously. But he had a line in one of his words. It was like, you know, when I'm 40, I'll probably be somewhere lecturing, right? Yeah. And so, just an accomplishment that I want to pursue, having completed my undergrad, and that took a lot of commitment and a lot of time and sacrifice away from the family to complete my degrees. But I want to complete my master's, and I haven't decided on. I'm looking at either public administration or seminary. So believe it or not, that's a goal I have, and
nice.
That's what I hope to accomplish.
Well, you kind of ruined my last question, bro. Because I was going to ask you, like, once it's all said and done with the music, right? Once you've hung up the mic, and I'm still wrapping circles around you, right? Like, where do you see yourself going as far as the ministry?
Well, you know, just continuing serving locally. You know, I don't have aspirations of at least at this time, of, you know, planting a church or anything, you know, of that nature.
Not being a pastor or nothing like that.
You know, maybe down the road and play a part somehow. The gift that we as believers all have in common is the gift of salvation, the gift of Jesus, right? Yeah. That he's given us his son. And if we keep him to ourselves, then we're like that, what the parable says, that we've buried that talent, right? We've buried that treasure. That treasure. Yeah. And we should put it to use. I believe God is expecting more of us. He's expecting the gift that he's entrusted you, but when he sees it, he's expecting interest on that initial. He has an investment in you, right? Yeah. He's invested in you. He's given it your son. Now, he's not only expecting to see you on Day of Judgment, but who did you bring with you? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that is that can be.
And we're Mexican. We can fit a lot of people in our cars,
right?
So we can take a lot of people with us. Yeah. You know what I
mean? That can be expressed professionally. Yeah. That can be expressed creatively, like in the music that we do. But as long as we're doing it in excellence, and so.
Hey, Nate, would you do me the honor, man? Would you do me the favor of leading us out with some prayer today, man?
Lord, thank you for this opportunity to commune and fellowship with my buddy Carlos here. And I pray right now, Lord, that your wisdom and your guidance continue to be over him and his endeavors, but also those that may be listening, Lord, that if they don't know you, that they come to know you, Lord. And I pray for obedience out there in the body of Christ. I pray for a hunger for the things of God. And I know that this world that we live in today, where everything just seems like it's backwards, I pray that you rise up a remnant of your people, raise up a group of people that will rebel against the ways of the enemy and the ways of the devil, and show others and be an example to others that serving you is the best thing they can do for their families, for their loved ones, is to be an example and to consider their steps, consider their decisions, Lord, as they consider eternity and consider the legacy that they leave behind. And we thank you for that. We thank you for your guidance, your power, your Holy Spirit. It's through Jesus I pray. Amen.
Amen, amen. And with that being said, I got a shout out to my sponsors, El Padrecito Productions, Separate Mind Productions, Reach Architects, and I got some private donations from some people who I want to shout out to. My boy Christian Perez, Victoria Rocha, Andrew Campos, my brother-in-law Tano Canales. Thank you guys for your generous support. You guys make this possible. For everybody listening, if you would like to support the program in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to leave a link in the description. Or you can just find me on CashApp. It's $C2six. We're going to close out today with a song called Squeeze Box. It's my boy Nate G once again. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for tuning in to the Cradle Catholic with C2six, and God bless.
Blip scripts when your boy come around. I'm a people you need help to get down. Little old school mix with a new sound. Elbows up, this is how we get down. Until the neighbors holler, I no mas. Until the neighbors holler, I no mas. Until the neighbors holler, I no mas. Until the neighbors holler. Ten cuidado when my brother got a squeeze box. Ten cuidado when my brother got a squeeze box. Ten cuidado when my brother got a squeeze box.
Home of the brave, where I was raised. Salute to old glory in the morning when she's raised. These the last days, so you know I gotta pray. Summertime will make you faint in that Lone Star State. War, watch me hydrate when your boy switch lanes. Before we touch plates, yo, we gotta say grace. This is how we raise. If you offended, stay away. If I'm talking too slow, well, homie, just slow your pace. Some call that country, gente dice rancho. City slicker music mixed with a bit of rancho. Clean in my blanco, when it goes abajo. Classic, like Boulevard in this poncho. Some of y'all be like, ¿quién es este vato? A dope MC con el espíritu de santo.
Blip scripts when your boy come around. I'm a people you need help to get down. Little old school mix with a new sound. Elbows up, this is how we get down.
Until the neighbors holler, I no mas. Until the neighbors holler, I no mas. Until the neighbors holler, I no mas. Until the neighbors holler.
Ten cuidado when my brother got a squeeze box. Ten cuidado when my brother got a squeeze box. Ten cuidado when my brother got a squeeze box.
Flip the script on them boys, Latino joyful noise. Got no time for toys, cause men stay employed. My team put in work, these plies hit the dirt. Rents due on first, our back bruised and hurts. We do this to make sure our babies will never thirst. Do this por siempre till the day that we hit the hearse. Sigue adelante, flow like picante. I'ma kick tunes for Jesus until they drop me. They will never top in, so they will never stop me. Looking in the mirror, hope to see a carbon copy. What can I say? Mentiras I never say. Your team can speak choro, my team will speak faith. My team will love to pray for faith and family. Chanclaville, Texas, that's where we stay.